Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Crypto Hour. Today is Friday, 25th of July, and it's 9 o'clock in London. As I remember, the time is always 9 o'clock in London, whatever daylight saving says in your country. Or if you're in any doubt, just like put it through Google and thinking, what time is it in my country if it's 9 o'clock in London? Okay. All right, let me share my screen and we'll get started. Okay. Okay, let's start from the economic calendar. I say not a really busy economic calendar this week. As you can see, they're mostly kind of like the red files are the kind of important announcements. There were kind of a few yesterday, but more like in the kind of manufacturing news. Just refresh this. And the main interest in the week was the euro interest rate decision. So it was kept, as you can see, at 2.15%. Already, as you can see here on the left, you got all the rates for the main industrialized countries. The euro has already lowered interest rates quite a lot, and it's now at 2%, where at the moment the highest ones are still, the US dollar is keeping quite a high level of 4.5%, and the pound 4.25%. Okay, there was a lowering of interest rates last month in the pound, but not the dollar. So the old talk, in recent times has been, when is the central bank in the US, the Fed, starting to cut interest rates? Seeing that they have announced that they are going to do two cuts in 2025, and they still haven't been done. So the other announcement this week, like for every week, was the US jobs announcement. That is, where is it? The unemployment claims, as every Thursday. That is, doesn't really tell you this much on this site. There is a little bit more on this is Forex Factory. There's a little more on myfxbooks.com. There's a little bit more granular, and we're going to have a look at it on there. Okay, so this is I like this particular one here, the continuous jobless claim. Let me just refresh the page because we didn't have the data from yesterday. Okay, where are we? So this is the main thing that we look at. So how many people are continually unemployed? So the long-term unemployed, so to speak. And that number it's been ticking up, and it's gone from about 1.7, 1.10 million now to just short of 2 million. And this is obviously in the US, yeah. But not enough to really worry the central bank. The central bank, I remember, got double mandate: one to keep the job market working well, and the second is to keep interest rate under control, below 2.5%. So at the moment, while the job market hasn't been a problem for them, the main focus has been the inflation. Okay, and so they concentrated on keeping inflation down, especially with Trump's tariffs, with uncertainty about the effect it would have on inflation. They keep restrictive conditions. Excuse me, kind of a quite expensive cost of money to stop people from spending, to stop the economy from overheating. Okay. Today said nothing, no big announcement today, but next week is quite interesting because next week it's a big week. Okay, so we're going to have the Canadian interest rate decision, the US interest rate decision, Japanese interest rate decision, and also we have that's on Wednesdays, the US and Canada. Thursday is Japan, and then we also have inflation figures on Thursday, and also we have the non-farm employment change on Friday. So Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday are going to be like heavy duty days, really as full of announcements as is possible. So expect if you are playing the markets, be very careful on the latter part of next week because expect kind of like big swings following each one of the announcements. So what you should do if you are trading, if you're investing, stay away from making decisions or taking positions just before or just after an important announcements. Like for example, now the interest rate announcement for the US is going to be 7 p.m. UK, so that's like 2 p.m. in the US. And there's going to be kind of like quite strong swings on everything that's priced in US dollars around that time. So what you normally do at least 15 minutes before and 15 minutes after, don't do anything new and control everything that you already got open as much as possible. Possibly if it's close enough to the current price, consider closing the position and maybe reopening later. Okay, so having looked at that, let's go and have a look at crypto. What's happened in the crypto market recently? And let's start by looking at Bitcoin. So what we see here, it's literally for the past 12 days, Bitcoin has been in a very narrow band, okay, between 117 and 120 roughly. Okay, and we'll see. I was waiting for a move, kind of like outside of this band, to see where the next move is going to be. And so obviously at the moment it looks like the move is going to be down, but we don't know because this candle isn't finished, so we'll have to wait until the end of the day. So there have been other times the price has been outside of this box, both on the way up and on the way down, but then it's always consensus, which is what is the price at the end of the day, is always come back to this range. But we'll see. You might see prices going back. We've gone overnight from 118.5 to 115. Now we're gonna see what happens at the end of the day. If it closes well below 117.5, then that would indicate there is pressure to go lower. And if we do go lower, there's a couple of places that we could end up tapping for extra liquidity. As that one is here, around the 112,000 to 110,000 range. But the origin of this move is a little bit lower. It's here, so we could go back to to the 108, 107 range. If we had a big retracement, then the obvious place that hasn't really been touched yet, it's this one here. Okay, so the 97,000 to 92,000 range. So those are the kind of places that I'm observing. This kind of move is what has been holding all the price, and is what caused price to create a new high first in May, and then it's been kind of retested, but not quite. Price didn't quite get down to this level, and then price has actually made a new high to the current 123. Okay, but in the short term, I will wait to see what happens today, because there's lots of today's options day as well. So there's lots of Bitcoin options expiring and Ethereum option expiring. So it might be an adjustment. And obviously prices, whenever price makes a new high, there's always a correction, because what happens when there is an all-time high? It means that every single person that's bought Bitcoin is sitting at a profit. Okay, so as some, not saying everybody, but some would want to take that profit. Okay, and so this is why that happens. So whether this retracement is just shallow, like we have done here in the past sometimes, or if it is something a little bit deeper, like a 10, 15, 20% retracement, we'll have to wait and see. The interesting thing, the more interesting thing is that when we look down, so this was the, so I was looking at something, we're looking at the Bitcoin dominance. You can see that has started to turn now. So that this chart represents the amount of the total, the percentage of the total market cap that's represented by Bitcoin. And I see in the past, in the last cycle, we went up to about 73%. And then, so this is, so it's not like the Bitcoin price went down here. This is between January and May 2021. So this is the bull market. And Bitcoin dominance went down by almost 50%, 45%. Okay, during that time, Bitcoin went up. I'll show you in the other chart. Where are we? 2021. There we are. Okay. So where were we in 2021? At 20,000, beginning of 2021. And where are we? 21,000. And by April, we were at 65,000. Okay, so this is this move here. So that means outcomes that the Bitcoin as a percentage of the total market cap went down when its price went up, 3 times, went from 20,000 to 65,000. It's because, at that time, yes, Bitcoin went up, 200% in 3 months, but the altcoins went up mostly by 700, 800, 1,000%. So the altcoin were growing faster than Bitcoin during that time, even if the Bitcoin grew a lot. And this is in a period of, so you see how quickly it can happen in just during 4 months. Okay. And even today, if we can look at today and the prices are down, can you see here, the total is the total market cap. Okay, at the moment is minus 2%. But if you look at others means is all the other coins, all the thousands of cryptocurrencies that are there, except the top 10, has gone down only by 0.6%. It means that at the moment, there is capital that is flowing into all coins rather than on Bitcoin. Okay, and this is relevant because for me is the main thing that I was looking for because so far Bitcoin has gone up a lot. That's mostly due to the ETFs and institutional adoptions. But the bull market for me hasn't really started yet. It's just about we're starting to see the signs now. The first sign that I was looking for was this one. So breaking of this 62% level in the Bitcoin dominance, because that means that interrupted technically means that now the uptrend in Bitcoin dominance has been interrupted. So the uptrend has been invalidated. And now we got to see, so at the moment we don't have a downtrend either. Okay, we just know that the uptrend finished, and now we'll see we need another leg to go lower than this point to then have a proper downtrend, the start of a downtrend. Now, where can it get to in terms of, can it get like it did in 2021 at 40%? Or can it go below that or above that? I don't know. Well, one thing I do know is that at the moment there are signs. This is it's very clear here. In 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, in a week, we've gone from 65% to 60%, which is a lot. Okay, and this is when prices were going up. So during this week, generally crypto prices have gone up quite a bit. Okay, so get ready for the upcoming bull market, because I think that it's going to be like a nice one to ride. And I think we are close to initiating that. We haven't seen, so this is also in connection to the market, the market things that you were looking at before, because what's the reality at the moment? The reality is the interest rates are very high in the US. That means the mortgage rates are high. the highest they've been in 30 years. That means that people that are in debt, they got credit card debt or normal debt, are paying a lot to service that debt. And in the US, it takes a long time for mortgage costs to affect the disposable income, because the reality is in the US, most people have a long-term, like 30-year mortgage. Okay, so it takes time. So every year, some mortgages will come to the end of their 30-year agreement, and they need to be renegotiated. So obviously, the last level was about 1-2%, and now people that are renewing their mortgages, they're renewing at 7%. So it's affecting people's spending power. Okay, one thing that could change that for the better is the lowering of interest rates, because if we lower interest rates, then mortgage rates go down. The replacement of debts is a little bit cheaper, and people have got more money in their pocket. So that could have a big effect in terms of the public, because at the moment this is mostly been institutions, but that full kind of like public euphoria to come back to the to the crypto market, we need individuals to get involved and get excited about this. In terms of talking about excitements and how much people will be back, or where are we in terms of the phases of Bitcoin. This is a couple of things that I look at regularly. One is the Bitcoin realized price. So for the whole 20 million of Bitcoin in circulation, we look at what's the last time that those coins were moved, and what was the price of Bitcoin when those coins were moved, and calculate an average. And that average at the moment sits at almost like $51,000. Okay, so the $51,000, what does it represent? It can represent like a hard floor. When we hit a bull market, prices generally don't go as low as, or just below that level like they did here, you can see in 2023. But generally represent kind of the floor there or thereabouts, or where price can stop when if there is like a hard bear market. And just bear in mind that this is always going up, because obviously any Bitcoin that's being moved today is being moved at $115,000. So it's a lot higher than anything that's been before, apart from the last week or so. And the other thing you look at is the what is called the NUPL, okay, the net unrealized profit and loss chart. And you might have seen it before, kind of at different levels. And you can see here the levels on the left. Okay, so, and they're generally represented by colors. Okay, so the first level at the bottom, which is below zero, is considered a capitulation, where the average of Bitcoin holders are actually holding Bitcoin at a loss. Okay, then they got the 0 to 0.25, where it's considered like the hope, fear range. The next one between 0.25 and 0.5 is considered like optimism or anxiety. And at the moment, we just left that. Pretty much we are between that and the next one, which is the 0.5 to 0.75, which is the belief and denial range. And generally, the tops in the market happen when the values are then in the next band, which is above 0.75, which is considered like the greed or euphoria phase. And it can be, it doesn't mean, even if we get to euphoria, and we're very far away from that at the moment, we're about 50, 0.56, 0.55. So to get to 0.75, there's a lot to go. But even when we get to that stage, that still last, can still last for weeks. And you will see, if you've gone through it before, one of the previous cycles, you will know what it looks like. You look at the charts every day, you see prices going up 7-8%, on a daily basis, and and then crashing down by 20%, and then growing another 50%, and it goes like that for weeks. But that generally indicates the top getting close to the top of the market, because be fearful when people are greedy, be greedy when people are fearful. Okay, so the best opportunity to buy as during the capitulation, the best opportunity to sell when we are in a greed, euphoria and greed phase. Okay, very quickly look at the ETFs. Lately, over the past week or so, there has been a little bit of profit taking in Bitcoin ETFs. So we can see this week we had 3 days of outflows, but yesterday money came back in. We don't know what's going to happen today, but at the moment we are pretty much slightly on the negative for this week, but we're still sitting at again a 55 billion of funds that are flowing into the ETFs. What's interesting is to see that now lots of funds are now flowing into the Ethereum ETFs. So while Bitcoin has had money coming out of the ETFs, look at Ethereum. 700 million, 600 million, 400, 300, 500, 300, 230. So a lot of capital now is flowing into Ethereum, and that indicates, so this is not, people just all of a sudden getting up and thinking, let me put my retirement savings onto Ethereum. These are institutions now. So there are companies that, especially the ones that already established Bitcoin reserve, some of them now are also creating Ethereum reserve because they realize that that crypto gives them a lot better security, a lot better returns than cash does, and so they're looking to hold their value in at least part of their value in crypto rather than in cash because it works better long term. Now let's look at a few bits of news and then we'll get into some questions. Now, I think that often people ask me, they ask me about mining. Should I be mining Bitcoin? I've read that if I pay so much on this website, I can buy a share of a mining rig. Now, there's one thing very clearly that I want to tell you. I'll tell you once, and we're not going to repeat it. So, mining Bitcoin and also other coins, it's now very, very big business. Okay, and it's got like wafer thin margins. So companies that can make it work are the companies that are quoted in the stock exchange. They invest billions of dollars in equipment. You mining individually or buying a rig for a small producer of Bitcoin have probably got no chance whatsoever of making any money, and 9 times out of 10 it's a scam. So if you hear somebody that says, look, you can make 1% a day by mining, forget it. Just run away as fast as you can. Okay. What it is about really is about electricity. So this mining works in places where they got extremely cheap electricity, like Russia, like Iran, people that are oil producers. They got electricity below 5 cents per kilowatt hour. In certain parts of Canada, it's possible. Europe, absolutely not. Main places in the US, absolutely not. I don't know what you guys pay for your electricity in Australia, but very unlikely that you can make a mining work where you are. These are just numbers. Okay, so to do Bitcoin mining, the hardware will cost about $15,000 and it will produce at the moment with the latest equipment $25 a day. Okay, so once you've accounted for your electricity, it was going to be even at the least possible cost, like in Russia, $4 a day. That will leave you $21 a day. So it will take you 2 years to get your money back, even before you make any profit. But not only that, the other thing to consider is that in 2 years, probably this Bitcoin miner is going to be obsolete. So you will have to spend another whatever it costs at the time, $15,000 if you want to carry on doing it. So it's a very difficult business and it's based on 2 things. One is buying these things in quantity so you can get economies of scale because you're not buying one miner, you're buying 50,000. Okay, so you can get a better price. And 2 is getting a low price for your electricity. But even on that basis, you see how long it takes to get your capital back. And this is kind of like times it takes if you mine different things like Litecoin or Dogecoin or little coins. It still takes 1.5, 2 years to just get your capital back before you make anything. Okay, so somebody promises you high return for mining cryptocurrencies, literally run away. Okay, run away, close the call, close the website wherever you've seen it, and don't come back. Other bits of interest though, there's lots of going on in the crypto market. So this is now a bank in the US, a proper bank, which is like a crypto, the only cryptocurrency bank that exists at the moment. There's Chartered Bank in the US that is launching a regulated stablecoin. So that is down following the Genius Act that was just passed. Is waiting to be signed into law by the president. And so you will see a lot more of these coming. So a lot more stable coins now entering the market, and there's big banks that are in the process of launching their own coins. So this is happening. So the digital dollar is actually, these stable coins, not just USDT, USDC, but stable coins that are directly issued by banks are going to be on the market pretty soon. So what does it mean? If the 5 biggest bank in the US launch their own stablecoin, do you think that the public, their own customers, will get used to seeing these? Okay, so it's very, very bullish for the crypto market in general, because it's making crypto, although we don't like big banks, we haven't started in crypto because of that, quite the opposite. But the reality is that they have got a big customer base. Okay, and so, if the customer base is getting used to seeing these things, these possibilities in their accounts, then that is like a gateway into the world of crypto. So yes, they can be used for doing things that the banks is creating for them, but also some of that money is going to find out the smaller coins. The coins are not, being directly given access to by the banks. More news. This again is another big one. Okay, US considers crypto in retirement plans. So the potential to include crypto in the, 401ks. Again, retirement plans, most of them managed by a provider like Fidelity, by BlackRock, etc., are the single bigger investor in the stock market. Okay, so there are trillions of dollars in retirement plans, funds. An allocation of even like 1% of retirement funds, US retirement funds, to crypto will cause a booming price that you can even imagine right now. Okay, so they don't need to just put all their money in crypto. Just that tiny allocation of 1-2% would launch crypto to a completely new level. Okay, and the fact that is also, the fact that when this is available, you have an army as well of financial advisors that would advise their customers to have an allowance for crypto in their plan. Okay, so it's something that it's like two-pronged. One would be like grassroots movement from people thinking, actually, I want to have some crypto in my retirement. And two is like the big players that now have got a way of making money out of crypto, and then they are pushing it because they can see that they can compete with that, and with the by selling people the S&P 500 or something like that, because of the results that are available in the same time frame in crypto that overshadow those. Now, talking about the interest in funds, the BlackRock's Ethereum ETF, called the ETHA, has become the third fastest ETF in history to reach the 10 billion of assets under management. Now, do you know which one were the other two? Was the Bitcoin BlackRock's ETF and the Bitcoin Fidelity ETF. So does it start to put so when you think about it, like, should I have some investment, some exposure to crypto or not? If this isn't started, making you understand that maybe it's worth putting some money in crypto, I don't know what would. Okay, so this is like nothing like this has ever been seen before. in American investing. Never, ever. Gold. So where is Bitcoin ETFs are today? It took gold 15 years to get to that point. The Bitcoin ETFs have done it in 18 months. It's just like, honestly, the kind of interest that there is behind this, it's astonishing. It's astonishing. It's like overshadowing everything you've seen before. If you look at the list of the fastest growing ETF in history, like I think it was like more than 15 out of 20 were crypto ETFs. It just like honestly is beyond. If any um, ETF manager has had results in terms of attracting capital, like the worst possible Bitcoin ETF, they would be jumping for joy. So if they got their results on number 11, a Bitcoin ETF, they will still be an incredible result because these numbers have never been seen before. Okay. Now, we were talking before about interest rates. There's a lot in the news, especially American news, about Trump and Jerome Powell, the head of the Fed. As Trump keeps saying, you have to lower interest rates, and basically just like the Jerome Powell say, just leave me alone, I'll do whatever I think is right. And but there's been last week there was like a big move in the US dollar when it looked like Trump was going to try to fire Jerome Powell. Then his mind was changed and calmed down because that would cause chaos, economic chaos, absolutely. And I don't think we can cope with that at the moment. So the upshot of that is that the president doesn't have the power to fire the head of the Fed, but obviously he would be able to influence who's chosen as the next, which is going to happen next year. Anyway, there is a lot of pressure coming from the administration onto the Fed to lower interest rates. And the Fed has already announced that they're going to lower interest rate twice in 2025. Obviously, we don't know when that is going to happen. The prediction favors September as doing that the Fed meeting in September. And also the other thing is that we don't know if it's going to be like a quarter of a percentage point or if it's going to be a larger cut of maybe half a percentage point. Probably, again, kind of predictions are 2 quarter point cuts by the end of the year. But that could cause then new blood, let's say, into both the stock market and the crypto market. The last two or three things. Tron now, Tron, the cryptocurrency, Tron Inc. is now has done a reverse merger. So basically, they bought a company that was already in the market and they merged with it. So they're now available on the Nasdaq as well, which is interesting. I mean, Tron has attracted a lot of the Ethereum traffic, especially into DeFi, because of the low costs mainly. So it has been one of those coins that 3 or 4 years ago, we were telling people stay away from Tron. Now it's actually become a success story. Almost starting as a shitcoin really, and now it's graduated as one of the main cryptocurrency projects, which is interesting. But a lot of people still turn their nose at Tron. They use it under duress because probably it's one of the cheapest, but they're still not quite sure the long-term project. And now they're actually making noises on the Nasdaq as well. Other bits of news I was thinking now, Christie's Real Estate launches a dedicated Bitcoin and crypto division. So obviously Christie's, is synonymous with arts and auctions, but also they handle really luxury real estate. So often if you were in the market to buy like a 20 million pound mansion or something like that, it's probably Christie would be likely to handle the transaction. Okay. Now the fact that they have now accepted Bitcoin and crypto as payments is showing that how accepted is becoming in the luxury market. So again, it's another little signs, another brick on the wall. And this is a lot bigger as an announcement. Now, you might not know, Jack Dorsey was the creator of Twitter, and then and now his main company, even before selling Twitter, he launched Square, which is like a payment solution that you use in shops, where you go and pay with your card in shops. They have those terminals basically, to pay for things. And now they've announced Bitcoin payments. So all the retailers now have got they use their platform will have the option to get paid in Bitcoin. Okay, so people can pay directly with their Bitcoin wallet, which is different from having a crypto card, a crypto credit card, where you pay with your crypto, but then the retailer gets dollars or the local currency. In this case, it's literally you can pay with Bitcoin. So from a Bitcoin wallet directly into the retailer in Bitcoin without any transaction, without translating the Bitcoin, without selling it and purchasing dollars with it. So it's they're just starting to onboard in the first few sellers for they will accept Bitcoin. But again, when you get like Square, you get PayPal, all the kind of alternative payment systems start accepting Bitcoin, it is saying something, because it means that there is a lot of demands for that solution. And yeah, that comes, I think, to the end of what I wanted to share with you. So I'll stop sharing and see what the questions are in the group. So anybody wants to go first?
Hello, Luca.
Hi, Logan.
How are you? I want to get your thoughts on DOT. I see it's been trading sideways for quite some time, and it's jumped all the way to number 22 in the top 20 of the top 100.
Sorry, which one you talking about?
Polkadot.
Polkadot, yeah?
Yeah, and I always thought it was a brilliant project because things can be built on it, and I thought it was good. I'd like to get your thoughts on it and know
Well,
what
yeah,
you think.
it's Dot is has been one of my one of the projects on my radar for years, because of the you look at crypto, you look at what are the building blocks, and what needs to happen, for crypto to then come to become a mass product, and one of the things that needs to happen is like the crypto projects need to talk to each other. Okay, because it's not possible that you've got Bitcoin, but then it's really complicated if you wanna you wanna use, instead of Bitcoin, you wanna use, I don't know, Dogecoin or Cardano or something else. So it's still a very very difficult world. We haven't come to what I call it the Wi-Fi moment in crypto. Like you can now go with your phone. It doesn't matter if you're in North Korea or or South Africa or in the North Pole, you probably, if there is a Wi-Fi station, you can log in with your phone. Okay, it doesn't matter if you go an Apple phone or an Android or whatever else, you can use that technology. So where Polkadot comes in is that they are working towards that moment to make that intercompatibility between blockchain possible. They're not the only one, not the only one, but it is one of the most important thing for the next phase. Okay, so that's that's my overview. And Polkadot has always been one of my top projects, and yeah, I still got, although the main projects in that thing have always been Polkadot and Cosmos. But now they're going to be other solution. Like we're gonna see how they're going to compete now with the new Midnight going to launch, possibly next month. It remains to be seen, but definitely that part of crypto is accelerating because the mass adoption is coming closer, and we quickly need solutions, and cannot be, we can't just defend behind a wall and thinking, no, you can only use Bitcoin, everything else is rubbish, or no, we can only use Ethereum because nothing else works. So we need to find a solution that, we'll find, like with everything else, there are people that prefer one blockchain for certain things, they prefer another blockchain for other things. And you need to make the process seamless, because the user doesn't really care. And the ones that don't use crypto today, they come in tomorrow, the next year, whatever, they don't really care what the technology is, because they have no investment in that. What they care is that they have got a phone, and they just want to, download an app on their phone and start using it straight away. They don't care what's on the background, what's the technology powering that app. They don't really care. So that's what Polkadot is working on. And they've been working pretty much in the problem is that with a lot of projects that do good work like Cardano and Polkadot, they're mainly in the shadows. Not many people talk about it because there isn't enough for YouTubers or whatever to make money on. And the ones that do well are the ones that splash the cash, so to speak, like the Solana of this world, or and the Ethereums of this world. But yeah, it's sad, but that's where we are. And I think in this cycle, the projects that do good work are going to come to the surface. Definitely Polkadot and Cardano belong to that category.
Yeah, because I see Polkadot's trading like way below its all-time high. Trading around below the $5 range, I think. So I think it could be a good, well, yeah, that's my thoughts. Could be a good time to get in.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it was at $50 in the last cycle. So
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I think during this cycle, we don't need to look too far for good opportunities. So you don't need to look for the moonshots, the project that just launched last week. There's plenty of tried and tested projects. They weathered the bear market, and they're still there in force. And I think the thing is that when the volume starts coming, they've already been at that point, and they're ready for what's coming. Where some of the new projects, they're just not prepared for the next level of volume. We've seen the problems that both Ethereum and Solana have had in the recent past, coping when things start going well. They just pretty much the blockchain almost like melts because they can't handle the amount of volume. Ethereum stops or charges hundreds of pounds for transactions. Solana pretty much like switches off the network. I mean, it's like unbelievable for a decentralized project to just like have an on and off switch. But that's what people don't care, because it just yeah, price is going up, let's put money there. It's not really sustainable for the long term. And if you are Jonathan, if you had a node in Solana, how much would it cost to be a node operator? How many hundreds of thousands of dollars?
Yeah, they've got petabytes of data for their ledger alone. Just crazy amounts of storage. You need to be a data center.
So for being a decentralized project, like you or me that wanted to launch a Solana validator, it's impossible. It's so expensive. Where a lot of the projects can still do. On Cardano, you can be a stake pool operator. You don't need to have millions to do it. And that's the reality. The same for Bitcoin. That's the reality. For having a big decentralized network, you need numbers, and the economics of supporting network must be there. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. You just like belonging to a Ponzi scheme that at any stage decides, well, we're going to take our money, and I don't care what happens to you. But anyway, that's a different matter. Okay. Any other questions? Very quiet today. There's a lot of like dark people at the bottom on my screen.
Well, maybe not a question, but a thought. I went back to around 2020, the last bull run, and back then there were probably like 2,000 cryptos out there. And I opened up CoinMarketCap today, seeing that there's over 10 million.
Yeah.
So I guess my thinking is people are going to start looking at the projects, are going to start looking at, I like to call it the blue chip cryptos. And I think most of the money is going to go to these things that have solid foundations in them.
Yeah, there's definitely starting to be like a kind of like a barrier to entry for new projects because the problem is that you either have a like a strong backer that can promote you to get you to in front of people's eyes. Otherwise, it's expensive. It's expensive to to make people aware that something exists. And so this is why a lot of you got to also be careful with a lot of YouTube influencers. They have videos because a lot of them get paid to talk about specific projects. There have been several cases that come to light. And it's fine. It's fine when they do it during the they mainly do it during the bull market because everything goes up. High tide floats all boats, so to speak. So they can always say, yeah, that's done well, look how good I am. But the reality is that any of the projects they talk about pays them a good chunk of money to talk about them. Always going back to do your own research, which is, I mean, there's lots of information out there, sometimes too much information.
Luca,
Yeah,
I've got a little thought in my mind. In the past, the retail were responsible for driving the Bitcoin and the rest of the altcoin markets. But now the TradFis are coming in with their own particular types of services and their own network of people who can join in going forward. And with 401k and all sorts that are coming on board and stable coins. How do you think the TradFi will drive the markets in the future? I don't know how do they think in terms of what projects to back or what technology to back or which coins to back or how do they think when they do go through their own sets of due diligence?
Well, kind of okay. I see in a slightly different way. How do they manage it is slightly different. I think they're trying to stay afloat because they can't stop the avalanche anymore. So I feel that we are going to, these are the first stages of the process of crypto really replacing currencies as a mean of exchange. And it's going to happen, slowly, but almost like it's impossible to stop. Even today, they are kind of like the IMF is stopping small countries from adopting Bitcoin, but they get to a point where it's not going to be possible because for certain countries, for the poorer ones at the moment, they won't have any alternative. So the alternatives are just too expensive. So if the choice is between can my people feed themselves or not, that's at the end of the day, cost drives everything. And that we get to the stage, I think, where the individual countries, individual governments will still govern the countries, but will not manage the exchange of value anymore. And there's not going to be somebody in charge of the Australian dollar, the US dollar, or I think it's just going to be like a decentralized way of exchanging money. So it's going to take out of the hands of the institutions and into the hands of the users. Well, that's the that's the way, that's the direction of travel. You know, how they're trying to stop it, they're trying to basically become relevant and find a way of making some money, still surviving, because they've been used to a position of trust where they were getting paid simply for doing nothing, simply for being in that position of trust. Once you're taking that trust away from the equation, you know, what are they there to do? You know, and they're trying to reinvent themselves to, you know, you see, like here in the UK, you know, you see banks are disappearing from the high street, you know, at alarming rates. So what's their role? Why are they in place? What are they doing? You know, they're really trying to reinvent their role to see, well, are we going to be in existence in 5 years' time, 10 years' time? And I think they can only do it by adopting as much as possible this new technology and finding a way of working with it. We know with new products, new structures. Yeah, and I personally don't think when you're saying yes, the price might be driven at the moment by institutional adoption. But that is simply because they can't avoid doing it anymore. It's not like it's their conscious decision. You know, we're going that way. Like that's the next big thing. Let's promote that as the next big thing. It's just like it's happening in any way. They just sometimes either join them, you know, or lose whatever we got our position. I don't know if you see it differently. I don't know if you see it.
So yeah, it does. I'm thinking in terms of, so what it does is increases the volume of traffic on the networks. That's the outcome overall, isn't it? Regardless of which blockchain or they choose to favor in terms of other blockchains.
Yeah, at the moment, just adoption by institutions doesn't increase the volume of traffic, it just increases the price.
Okay.
Because it's not as if they are like all of a sudden thousands or more transactions. It's just the average transaction, instead of being, I don't know, $100, is like $50,000. Oh, so that's the thing. So if you see the average value of each Bitcoin transaction has been going up and up and up and up and up, you know, because of this because it costs the same thing to put a transaction through that's worth, you know, $100 as $100 billion, you know, and from the point of view of institutions, then that's a big saving.
Yeah,
it doesn't mean much to you personally, but from them they're moving huge amounts of money. That makes a big difference.
Okay, thank you.
And actually, we've seen, so there was some articles that I was, you know, looking at yesterday and today that saying that the number of UTXOs in Bitcoin has actually dropped, even if the price of you know, Bitcoin has gone up dramatically. The number of transactions on the Bitcoin network has actually gone down. You know, so
thank you.
no problem. So last question. Oh, by the way, for those of you, I know that most of you are kind of like old faces, but Jonathan, if you don't mind posting your link, you know, if there's a couple of maybe people that haven't seen one of Jonathan's session. Jonathan is stake pool operator for Cardano, and he does a session, Cardano-based session, you know, like practical crypto, so you can see really how a blockchain works, you know, on a practical basis, and it covers a lot of important subjects during his calls. So I would highly recommend attending his call as well. He always starts when this finishes. So you posted it now, yeah. So the link is in the chat box, if you want to attend. What are you going to talk about today, Jonathan?
Well, I've got a dashboard up for the Midnight node, so it might be interesting to show people real blocks on the Midnight chain already flowing. Yeah, and just various bits of news from around the industry. Dinesh is always there. Comes in, we chat for half of it. But yeah, any questions, any topic, it's all good.
Yeah, I would like to be there, since obviously I've got lots of my calls. As soon as I finish that, I start my coaching calls. So unfortunately I'm not more available, but I'd love to listen to the latest. I always go and have a look at your Discord. to see to see the latest bits.
Got the topics. Yeah.
Keep myself informed. So from the career where things happen, so you hear it first hand rather than having to read it somewhere. Most journalists, even crypto journalists, don't really understand Cardano anyway. So it's difficult sometimes to find proper information. Okay.
Yeah. Very true. And if you want to join the Discord, anybody else, then you can drop that in there as well. And that's and just a chat platform.
Fantastic. So the link is in the chat box as well. Okay, there's room for one last question if there is anybody there, and then we'll close the call for the week. Nobody? Okay, you're all satisfied? Okay, fantastic. So then I can say really enjoy the weekend. Say if you look at things during the week and you're not quite sure what it means, or you want some clarification, then bring it up during these calls, or send me a message, and watching the call recorded. I'll still carry doing the call. Okay. So have a fantastic weekend, everyone. Enjoy the sunshine if you got any sunshine. If you're in Australia and you're cold, good for you. Probably, it's not bad if like 1 month a year you suffer a little bit of cold. That's not bad. We have to suffer about 6 months a year in the UK. So stink of us. It's only short-lived for you. All right, guys. So have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you next week. Okay. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Luca. Good night.